let's shift gears a little bit. This show is called Behind the Brand. We talk about brands. So I'll put you on the spot a little bit and have you give me your definition of what a brand is, and then I want you to break down the Patreon brand.
Interesting. What is a brand? I think a brand is the abstraction in our minds that we associate with an entity. Wow, that's a weird definition. I don't know that that is a whole definition, but it is all of the thing. It's the thoughts, the feelings, the abstraction that we associate with a word, a company, whatever. It's like that, the sum total of thoughts, feelings, ideas.
Yeah, I think the same too. And I've had the advantage of hearing this from the people who are credited with, building this kind of stuff. People like Marty Neumeier and Seth Godin, people. And what Marty told me, he says, we can understand what a brand is by what it's not. A brand is not your product or service. A brand is not about advertising or publicity, although, those are vehicles which can help amplify your brand. And he really said, a brand is in the hearts and minds of other people. You can try as much as you can to control the narrative or, whatever. But really, it's out of your control once you launch your product or service, and it's what people think or feel about you after they have that touch point.
Exactly. Yeah. Your brand is not your colors or your,
It's not your logo.
No, it's the things that appear in people's minds. It's how they perceive you. Yeah.
And so with that definition then, so what is the Patreon brand? Like, what do you stand for? What is it about?
So I'll give you because of how we just defined brand, like I'm the wrong person to ask that question of, right?
Well, but you are the visionary, right?
Right. So yeah, I can tell you what it means to me, and of course we study, what do people think of us and what do people think of our brand.
But don't sell yourself short here, because you are the Richard Branson or the Steve Jobs in this story, Jack. Like you're the guy who, this is your vision, this is your baby. So totally. You should be able to articulate the brand. It doesn't have to be perfect or
I'll say the most important thing about Patreon, and I like kind of boiling it down to one principle. The most important thing for me about Patreon is that it's a creator first organization, creator first, and that means it's not advertiser first, and that is a big important thing on the web right now. I feel like on a lot of platforms, creators feel like they're not the ones that these companies are building for.
Wait a second. I just got a great email from Medium, where you can write stuff, and I got a check for 7 cents for some of the articles I wrote. I mean, I took hours and hours and hours, and I got a few pennies. I mean, aren't they thinking of me?
So that's what I'm talking about.
Brutal, right?
Too brutal to kind of, and then multiply that by billions of people on the web, and anyway, it's too brutal. But yeah, so that creator first mindset. I think there's a lot of companies that that are building and perceiving the world and solving problems, and they're looking at the world through the lens of an advertiser. How can we, even if they say they're looking at it through the lens of you and me and consumers, the customer is the advertiser. I know, again, a lot of people are quite familiar with the mechanics of the attention economy, but the customer is the advertiser. That's who's paying. And so these companies are trying to figure out, how can we serve our customers? How can we serve our advertisers? And that is a very different lens than the one through which Patreon perceives the world. We perceive the world through the lens of a creator. And that, I think, is the ultimate thing about our brand that is different and that makes us the company that we are.
I love that you made that differentiation, because I'll add one more thing to that, which is the artist then is the product, right? You're the product that the platform is selling, right? You think...
Go ahead.
you think that your art is what you're selling, but actually you're in this matrix where you have become the platform's product, right? And without you, they have nothing, right? And they're just monetizing you.
So the way I like to think about this is like, ultimately that is up to a creator, and Patreon provides the kind of the tools, but the creator can decide what's for sale. And I think you're right in that some creators, it's more about a community, and it's more about like interaction, and it's more about, you know, connection with them. And I think in that case, yes, patrons are paying to interact with that creator and to hang with that creator. But there's a lot of creators on Patreon where the product is the podcast. Like when you ask the patrons, what are you paying for? They say, I want the podcast for an extra $5 a month, and they want the digital download. They want the RSS subscription. Go ahead.
Well, to be clear, so like if you're like, so I'm a huge fan of YouTube. You know, both of us are. But when you put your video on YouTube, you are the product. You are YouTube's product. They don't have anything to sell without you. Versus Patreon, where I feel like it's more audience direct. It's like going to a live concert, and you can reach down and shake hands of the people, and you could pass out T-shirts or sell your music. It's a very different experience, you know. Or one is it's like audience direct, on Patreon, and when you're on Google or Facebook or any other, whether it's TikTok that's now monetizing, doesn't matter what the platform is. You, the artist, are TikTok's product, and you probably don't know it.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of mechanics about that ecosystem that I think are pretty, you know, hurtful. And I think we're having a mass reckoning with a lot of those hurtful dynamics, whether it's the implications to privacy or addiction or you know, all the things that we're starting to see. You know, the kind of fracturing of even what knowledge means and what knowledge is. And yeah, these are like deep problems that we're dealing with. And ultimately, I do think it stems from the fact that, you know, a world where attention is essentially a proxy for revenue, you get a lot of negative side effects of that. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that play out like at a global scale right now, which is it's pretty scary.
Burnout's another result of this, right? Like this need to feed the alligator. The alligator gets hungry about every hour, and you know, you can feed it for a while on a daily basis, but then like, like you gotta go get more food, and it's like the alligator needs more food, and so, you know, if you let it go, it dies.
So I think, yeah, the burnout thing, I call that the content treadmill, or if you know, Ed Catmull wrote a book on the founding of Pixar, and he calls it feeding the beast. There is when time spent is the key metric, then as a creator, the incentive structure that the ecosystem imposes on you is more, which is different than an ecosystem where somebody can make a 3-minute video, but it's incredibly valuable to people because it's such a deep message and it's so well made and it's such a moving narrative. And that is something that, look, I'm going to pay $25 for that video because I just love it. And when you're ready to make a new one, and we'll pay you $25 again for that. That's a very different incentive structure. And I think the burnout problem is a side effect and stems from the kind of the world where more is more money.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I am also, you know, and I'm guilty of this, right? I'm guilty of feeding the alligator, or feeling like I need to, or the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out because, oh, damn, you know, David Dobrik just uploaded another one, or, you know, so-and-so, whoever it is, right? Flavor of the month. I think better is better than more, right? Now, if you can do better and you can make that scale, you know, kudos to you. Great. I mean, that's amazing. But I think it is, at least in my mind, a quality over quantity thing. And again, you know, I don't want to have this be a tongue bath for Patreon, but like that is one of the benefits of a platform like that, where you can really, if you've got your audience, a captive audience, and they care about you, and you say, listen, this is going to only be once a month because what I'm bringing to you is that good. It takes me that long to make it, but when you get it, it's going to be fantastic. So, chill out. Versus on YouTube, it's like I've constantly got to be, stoking that fire, or else it goes out. I think that's a good option.
Yeah, I think what I believe, and I've talked about this before, and it's just a prediction. I'll make it again right now. I believe that as consumer payments starts to become the primary driver of art production on the web, which it's not right now. Right now, advertising dollars is the primary financial engine for content production on the web. But as that becomes consumer payments, which is already happening, right? All these platforms are experimenting with consumer payments. Twitter released super follows, and Facebook has fan subscriptions, and YouTube has channel memberships, and Patreon's coming in there with the membership system. As consumer payments starts to take over, the whole web is going to start to shift toward things that are truly valuable to others, to people, instead of things that are clickable and candy-ish and sugary and sweet, and I just want another little hit, and I get a dopamine hit when I open my phone. I think we're going to start to see art on the web make a transition over the next decade or two toward truly beautiful, valuable stuff that is inspiring and moving and motivating and meaningful to us as humans. And again, I'm an optimist, so I'll say that one more time. But I really believe that that's going to happen on the web, and I believe we're going to look back at this age of, mass low common denominator candy addicty content production, and we're gonna have kind of a revelation in retrospect as we look at what happened around the globe.
I hope you're right. I'm an optimist too. I believe it. I'll also put my 2 cents in there, is that I think there will continue to be both. The metaphor I think about is when you go shopping, right before you hit the cash register is all that shit right there that you don't need. It's not good for you. It's an impulse buy. It's always going to be right at the cash register, right before you hit the, I'm ready to pay button. You did your important shopping out there. You got what you really wanted. And then at the last minute, they're like, couldn't you just use some bubble gum? Whatever.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. It's not about the destination. It's all about the journey. Ain't nothing changed but the weather. The dangling carrot that hang from the rear view. Your dreams in the past ain't nowhere near you. Backseat drivers got nothing but 2 cents. Shotgun riders too biased, they all liars. I should get an A for effort, I'm too tired, but I'm never giving up, that's why I'm kinda admired. Role model, like it or not, I gotta play it. Sugarcoat the rhyme sometimes, but still say it. Said I was quitting at 40, it's just a fib. I'm still a kid that's wiping the